Well, hello everybody, this is Catherine Toon, and I thought I'd hop on today really quick just to encourage you. And we are better together. I'm doing this from my business channel just because some of you have said, hey, we've missed you. And I've been doing stuff, but not on my business channel, which is why you may not have been alerted. So I'm trying to be there to, hey, Holly, to reach as many people as possible. And sometimes just with how things, hi, Tenderheart, just with how things are, sometimes the logistics of what Facebook allows to post doesn't give you very good coverage. So anyway, however that is, I am here to encourage you this morning. Yay. And I know a lot of you, are just really struggling. It's kind of a hard time. We're kind of all locked in. And maybe you are locked in with people that may be hard to get along with or whatever that is. And this is on top of whatever else you were going through before this thing happened. So, it is challenging. And actually, quite a few of the people that have been having the most challenges are actually had really nothing to do with the virus issue. So this kind of exacerbates kind of what is already going on. And so I'm sorry, gosh, if that is you today, but I do know something. Oh my goodness, we do have some good news. Isn't that amazing? It's kind of like the concept of death and grieving, not as those that don't have hope. We have vast hope. We have vast hope because we are in Christ. Jesus already went to the cross. He already chose you. And his love has been shed abroad in your hearts. That means abroad, far and wide into all the country of your heart, all the countries of your heart. And so it's an issue of, wow, where are the places in my heart that haven't awakened to that? And that is just a ministry issue. It's not like we're trying to convince God to love you in your place of breakdown, to love you in your place of unbelief, to love you in a place of fallen identity, and to love you in the place where you've been traumatized, to love you in the place where there's false identities, all that kind of stuff. He already is wild about you. And that was not by your choice. That was by his, because he created you. He just adores you. So with that, you have vast hope. Now, where you don't have hope is maybe in some of the more external things that have broken through. People fail you. They do. And institutions fail, and the government fails, and all these different places fail. And so if that is where your source is, another person, a husband, a wife, last time I checked, they weren't Jesus, although you are married to Jesus. But your natural spouse is not your source. Your kids are not your source. Your job is not your source. I was just listening to an amazing teaching about the mother heart of God. I totally recommend this series on YouTube by Paul Young. And one of the things that he was ministering about is how we turned, how men turned toward the ground to look to as their source instead of God. Adam turned to the ground, and Eve turned towards Adam instead of God. And so that's just jacked up the human race when we're looking toward anyone or anything other than the one who loved us and gave himself up for us. He is masterful. I do a whole lot of counseling and coaching with people, and I hear stories, it just takes your breath away, really. And you're like, thank God, God is God, right? So I may be stymied and stumped, but in the decade that I've been doing this, I've never seen God once stymied or stumped. Sometimes I'm like, wow, okay, God, so take it away. And he's like, awesome. That was my plan anyway. And it works really well. He's never stymied or stumped. And this is our time to kind of dig deep in the places that, where God really is our source. He really, this is where we really walk it out. People are looking at you. People are looking at me. People are looking at the Christian community. And you know what? Hey there. Hey, Holly. Where there's just pain in the place of really no answers and insecurity and what's going on with my job. Do I have a job? What's life going to be like once the lockdown comes down? What's the economy going to be like? Blah, blah, yada, yada, all that. Plus everything else you got going on. People are looking for hope. And God is so amazing because he already chose us and provided for us. Hi, Henry. My dear friend Henry, he already chose us. Guys, let's give a shout out to Henry because he is one of the medical providers that goes in and risks his life every time he goes in. So thank you, Henry. And I'm praying for you and your safety. Hi, Deborah. Hi, Daniel. So I was saying something, and I'm sure it was brilliant. Jesus, just bring the brilliance back. So God is so masterful that he already made the provision before we would require the provision. But the truth is, it may not look like it always has been. You know, when one source dries up, that is not sweet, Holly. Thank you. When one source dries up, others open. And so really it's an issue of what conduit your source is going to be, your provision is to be, is to go through, right? I mean, I just, even with what I do, sometimes I'm like, you know what? I think I've ministered to you in my capacity, and I recommend you find someone else. Not that I'm firing people. Actually, my job is to be fired. Because if I'm doing my job, I'm connecting you well to Jesus so that you don't need me to do that. So that's my goal, is to get myself fired, not because I'm incompetent, but because I am really good at my job. And so that's my goal. And I know, but I will hang with people as long as it takes. That's just my heart and my joy and my privilege, because I realize something, that God is the source. And that if it doesn't come through me, it'll come through someone else. Right? If it doesn't come through the government, it'll come through something else. If it doesn't come through, whatever, your neighbor that doesn't even know God with who he really is, it will come through some way or another. And that is just how God is. And so we're going to access that by really keeping our eyes on Jesus. You know, I believe in being responsible in the sense of, I follow what's going on with this stinking virus. And just wisdom and, all the stuff, all the recommendations. I don't want to be part of the problem, right? So even if I'm feeling good and I'm healthy, well, you know what? My little low-level infection, which I don't have, but, protecting not just me from people, but people from me, right? So we have to think about that, at least at this, stage in the game of the COVID virus fallout. But I recognize something that, I do keep abreast of that, but man, I spend a lot of time. That is my default, looking into Jesus. And, if there's a pain point, I recently got kind of triggered with something that was pretty deep. And I was like, oh, yay, another upgrade. Every time you get triggered, you do realize that it's an opportunity for another upgrade. So I'm like going to Jesus and doing my thing and bringing him into my pain point and that kind of thing. And as we look into him, his mastery and his breathtaking beauty and his heart to minister to his kids that he is wild about. You are adored, by the way, just in case you needed to be reminded today. You are flat out adored. Yeah, just like that. Behavior aside, right? Good or bad, right? Because love isn't love if it's dependent on your good or bad behavior, right? If it changes, it's just love. It's just unconditional. But, as we're connecting with him and looking unto him who authored it and finished his faith in us, that faith, okay. And as we're resting in his adoration, our faith is stirred. Why? Because one way or the other, you're going to get taken care of. Listen, if you're adored by the one who has all resources, guess what? You're going to be pretty sure that, man, I'm going to be taken care of. And then I'm going to be able to help take care of other people, be a conduit for that. And that is just how it works. So, resting in his pleasure, resting in his love, resting in his comfort, resting in his protection, resting in his peace, right? Letting that fill you up when things get crappy. Things get crappy, right? Letting him do that. That is your priority. That is not selfish. And sometimes I think as ministers, we're so busy ministering that we get burnt out. Why? Because we haven't been receiving, right? So I don't just study a message to be able to give a message. I study a message because I need it, because it's something that God has ministered to me. And out of that place where I've been ministered to, then I can minister, right? Paul said that with the comfort that he's received, he could minister comfort. And that's what we need. Out of the strength that he's received, that I've received, I can minister strength. Out of the hope, the vast, endless hope that I've received, I can minister hope. Out of the joy that I've received, I can minister joy to you. And that is my privilege. Out of the faith that I have received, God's faith, not my faith. I'm not, honestly, I'm not really interested in looking at myself and in of myself. I mean, like, there's nothing there. He said, apart from me, you can do nothing. And, I think sometimes when I am all for looking at the glory in one another and loving one another and seeing how amazing we are. But if we do that outside of Christ, we're doing that outside of something, the thing, okay, the person that is the source of all things. And so I have to do that through the lens of Jesus, right? So if we get too much into kind of a humanistic format, we have to realize that, that's not our source. That will dry up. As amazing as we are as his kids, we are reflecting the glory of the one who loved us and gave himself up for us. So we can gaze at Jesus and have this romance with Jesus, and then minister from that place, and then see Jesus and other people, just how amazing they are, and enjoying one another, but not making them a source. All right. Anyway, I hope this has been a blessing for you today. I'm sure, I say the same stuff pretty much over and over because it's not because I'm not coming up with new stuff. It's because, oh my goodness, we just need to get this. And the more we get, the more we get. You do realize that the revelation goes deeper and deeper and deeper because we are rooted and grounded with a person of love, and he is endless. He's fascinating. He's intoxicating. He's compassionate. He is help where you need capital H help. Thank you so much, Holly. Anyway, I love you guys. Share this with someone who needs to be encouraged. I love you. Bye-bye.